Good morning. You're listening to Central Wisconsin's 24-hour information station, WFHR. It's time now for the Morning Magazine.
Welcome, everyone, to Morning Magazine for this July 27th, 2022. You have your host, James J. Maloff here. It is 10:05 on the clock, and at 10:30, we're going to welcome in our friends from the ODC. Callie Johnson going to join us. We'll talk about Milkweed Market and some other fun things, and Stephanie Hartman will be with us as well to talk about the Run, Walk, and Roll event coming up that recently took place in July. Right now, joining us in studio, we have Wood County Court Clerk Trent Miner with us. Good morning, Trent.
Good morning, James. How are you?
Doing well. Okay, I forgot that you're okay. You're going to be on a different mic here. All right, there we go. Cool. Now we can hear you.
Okay, there we go.
And it wasn't live. Don't worry about it. You can fix it in post. And of course, want to say good morning to our friends over at Heart of Wisconsin. Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. Thank you so much for being here, gang. Appreciate you guys. Trent, we are obviously getting close to the upcoming August elections.
You bet.
And I don't know. I haven't heard much about voting recently. I don't know. None to talk about here. So. How are you? How have you been?
Outstanding. Can't complain.
Very good to hear.
Enjoying the summer and doing great.
Good. It is a heavy topic.
Yes.
Let's be real about it.
Yep.
Your job has only gotten tougher in the last couple of election cycles. Mm-hmm. I do want to take this moment real quick to thank you, all the people that work in that field, and all the many, many, many volunteers around the country that help democracy happen.
Thank you.
I think that we have not done a good job as a society of understanding what we pulled off during the pandemic. We pulled off a presidential election.
Yes.
We pulled off local elections during a pandemic. We don't take enough of a victory lap about that. So I just wanted to take a moment and do that and thank all of the staffs and all the people out there, wherever you're listening. We appreciate you. Democracy is alive and well thanks to people like that.
Absolutely. And the poll workers that came out and did work those elections are just... the toughest of the tough. There's some that just were not able to do that. They were compromised, immunocompromised, and in the elderly age. And boy, people just stepped up. It was incredible. Yeah. Kids of municipal clerks. Okay, you're home from college. Guess what? You're working. You're working the election. Yeah. So it worked out really well.
And by now, I know that there are still outliers and everything about the 2020 election and all that. I don't want to take any time with that. I'll move on. I think we all should as a society. But
don't disagree.
I will say. One thing that I don't hear enough when that topic has come up in the past, I'm not talking about now, I don't care about it now. I don't like that there were so many people taking shots at so many people that volunteer to do these things. It racks my brain to think of people and some of the personal vendettas that they have against something or what have you, and turning it against volunteers of something. Like, it's one thing when a person is paid to do a job. We all get a paycheck. We're all adults. Mm-hmm. You take there are positives and negatives to every job. But with volunteering, my God.
Yeah, certainly those poll workers that are out there. You said yes. Are they getting paid? Certainly. But they're doing a lot of volunteer work on the side too, and to make sure that those elections do go off without a hitch. And they're truly your neighbors. You ask them to watch your dog. You ask them to keep an eye on your house when you're on vacation. Yeah, you trust them to do that. We trust them to run our elections as well. So. And
while I think that 2020 is said and done and all that, I do think that we can all agree that we want our elections to be secure and to be, something we can count on.
Yes, absolutely.
And just reading up on this in state and different areas, I see a lot of confidence from people in your position. Is that where you're coming from this, Trent?
Absolutely. I am very confident because you look at all the checks and balances at the state of Wisconsin. Can we do it better? Absolutely. We can always be better at what we do and have to get better as we go. That's just the name of the game. But when you look at the checks and balances that we do already have in place, I'm real confident in the results that Wood County puts out on election night. Absolutely. I would stake my life on it just because we check it. We do public tests before the election to make sure those machines are operating correctly. We have the canvas that where we certify the election, and we're looking at those results, making sure there aren't any anomalies anywhere. And then we do an audit after the election. Some are mandatory, some are voluntary. Okay, did that machine do what it was supposed to? Yep. And every single time we do a voluntary audit and a mandatory audit, those numbers come out right on the head for the machine vote.
Recently, the Wisconsin Supreme Court said that ballot drop boxes are not allowed in the state.
Correct.
How is that going to affect our area?
It'll affect the area somewhat. There are some municipalities that just don't have drop boxes, especially out in the rural areas. It was more common, say 20 years ago where, especially in the rural areas, they drop their absentee ballot off in the clerk's mailbox on their way to work or something like that. Wisconsin Rapids never did use the drop box option, but Saratoga, Grand Rapids certainly did. Does it affect the election? Yeah, you're just going to have to change how you think about dropping off your ballot. Either just mail it in or go in and personally drop it off yourself.
For disabled people that are trying to vote, how are they going to vote now?
My understanding is that there is an allowance there with the Help America or the ADA, the America with Disabilities Act, and that's being battled out in the courts right now. I don't see a problem with that around here. Again, you still always have that option of mailing it in. And we'll let it go at that. Yeah. There's always that option.
Right. Yeah. Otherwise, though, pretty clear sailing when it comes to that topic in our area. In our area,
yes. I think we have a really good group of clerks right now. We're a little short-staffed on our clerk end. I've got 3 of them that are missing. In 34 municipalities, I got 3 municipalities that don't have any clerks right now, so they're kind of running a little short-handed. But we're communicating nonstop. It's a nonstop communication between my office and making sure that they all have the information they need to conduct those elections appropriately.
I didn't have this one planned, but just after what you said there, how are we feeling about getting results? It does seem like we might be short-staffed this year. It might be might have to be a little more patient when it comes to getting results. Do you think? Or
as we get into November, the spring election results come in pretty fast. They're smaller elections.
Yeah.
The larger the elections, the more checks and balances we have to do at the end of the night, the more ballots there are to make sure that we've accounted for. So those results come in a little slower. As far as patients, I think Wood County puts them out probably quicker than a lot of counties do because we do have the modem process that we use. They get out there pretty quick. I would say by 9:30, we're going to have everybody in. Always the outliers are our hand count municipalities. That takes time, but I only have 2 of those. So I'd say by 9:30, we're going to have the results for the primary.
It's stuff that maybe may not seem groundbreaking to people out there who aren't in that position, but it's important that we talk about those things. We make sure that base is covered.
Yes.
Every American should have the ability to vote, and it should not. I am a believer in, you should have to work for certain things and stuff, but I don't mean like literally working for your vote. I mean like maybe you got to stand in line for a while or something.
Right.
As far as like having a hard time, difficulty getting to a voting place or something, or getting your vote in or casting your vote, that should not be difficult. That is anti-American if you ask me.
Right. And certainly we have, the larger municipalities have, larger staffs that they work with. And we truly, every municipality, and we work with it at the county to make sure we have enough people on staff to get your ballot in so you're not standing in line. Are you going to have to? Yeah, especially in November, you're probably going to end up having to stand in line. But, when we talk about, setting up polling places so that there is that smooth flow of traffic, that we're always looking for better ways of doing things, and our clerks do a fabulous job of that, and our chief election inspectors and poll workers as well.
Speaking with Wood County Clerk Trent Miner about the upcoming August election, of course, and have our friends at Wisconsin Rapids Community Media with us as well. When it comes to the August 9th primary, is there any changes with wards or with voting, that information that you need to know or present when it comes to voting?
Well, let's talk about August 9th. August 9th is what we call a partisan primary, and that's different than most other elections. And we always get a little pushback on partisan primaries because in partisan primaries, you can only vote in one party. This is the party's chance to name their nominees to go forward to the November election. And inevitably somebody will ask, well, when did that change? I mean, that's brand new. I've never done it before. And I hate to say my answer is 1904 is when that changed. So it's been a long time. We don't do it very often. It's only every other year. But we always have that partisan primary. When people go to the ballot, especially those that have the tabulators, when you go into the voting booth, the first thing I want you to do is look at that ballot and decide decide which party you're going to vote under. On the ballot, it has the party preference listed right there. Fill in the oval next to the party. That's your insurance policy. In case you end up crossing party lines, you vote for a Democrat and a Republican. If you chose one of those parties already, the machine knows only to count those ballots that you have selected that party for. So that's going to be my biggest promo here is choose your party first, then go to vote. But yeah, the partisan primary is always kind of a stickler. It's a different one. It's a different one.
I do see that new for 2022, you will need to know your ward number when you vote. At least I'm seeing on the Wisconsin Rapids website.
Wisconsin Rapids did, and this is, again, I applaud the city clerk, Jennifer Gossick, and her deputy, Sue Bravik. They did a fabulous job during when we did the reapportionment of the census. They decided to split up their reporting units, and it makes for a much smaller, they need more people, but it makes for a much smaller poll book, and it gets people in, it gets them out faster. Their reporting units before were over 4,000 voters. I mean, their poll book was like a telephone book. Now they're about 1,000, so you can get people in and out. So know your ward. If you don't know your ward, know at least your aldermanic district, and then the chief inspectors or the greeters will be able to get you in the right area.
If you don't know your ward number, how can you find that out?
You can certainly go on myvote.wi.gov and look it up there, or there will be maps at the polling location where you can go, okay, I live there. Point to it, and you'll be able to see which ward you need to be at.
Wards 1 through 10 vote at the Centralia Center at 223rd Avenue South, and wards 11 through 27 will vote at the former East Junior High School Fieldhouse at 311 Lincoln Street. And again, partisan primary vote is August 9th.
Yes.
So I have a couple of other questions for you there, Trent. But before I get to those, what is a more common question or one of the most common questions you get? You kind of touched on that a little bit with the primary voting part.
Yeah.
Outside of that, are there other common questions you get asked that we can kind of address today for the audience?
Really, the partisan primary, it's that's
a big one.
Process. That's huge. We get those calls constantly, especially on election day. We'll get those calls. What do you mean I have to vote in one party? Well, that's the way it's always has been. The common questions, where do I vote? Especially with new residents, we'll get those questions as well. How do I work absentee voting? We get those questions, and we refer those to the municipal clerks. We try to help customers out and as best as we can to make sure that they have the right information, they're voting in the right place, and they know where to vote and what municipality they live in.
So would you say that that's probably overwhelmingly the most common question you get?
Absolutely. That is the most common question I get, especially partisan primary.
And you did touch on it, but I don't know if there's any more to add or not, but I did want to get into the difference of a primary and a general election. I feel like you kind of did that already. Primary, you're voting party. A normal general election, it's much more individual. You can vote for a Democrat here, Republican here, Independent there.
So primaries are and we have spring primaries too. They're not party related, they're not partisan, but this is the chance we need to whittle those candidates down to one per race. And so this is the mechanism that Wisconsin uses. And with the partisan primary, you have to stay in a party. You can't vote for more than one candidate for the assembly in the 72nd district. You have to vote for one. So you have to choose your party, stick in that party, and make your decision based on that.
When do ballots get mailed out?
They have been already. So with federal elections, those ballots have to be in the mail 45 days prior to the election. So when we talk about fall elections, that process actually starts back in April already when candidates start taking out papers, nomination papers, and then they have to certify them in June. We have to get the ballots out shortly thereafter. You think, well, April to November, good grief, or April to August, there's a lot of time there. There's really not a lot of time when you look at the state statute requirements and what needs to happen within those time frames. It's a tight turnaround. So yeah, those ballots have been out and about already for quite a few weeks already.
My dog ate my ballot. I need a replacement. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I'm sure you've heard that one. Yeah. Say you do lose your ballot. How can you get is there still time to get a replacement ballot?
Absolutely. You have until Thursday prior to the election, which is going to be next next week sometime, next week Thursday, which is going to be the 4th, I believe. You'll have until then to request a replacement ballot. I've actually heard of people saying, hey, the guy that I voted for dropped out of the race. I want a replacement ballot. Sure, you can spoil up to 3 ballots. So that's an easy fix. You call your municipal clerk, they'll get you all set up.
Is there a way to see or know what is on the ballot beforehand?
Absolutely. That myvote.wi.gov is a fantastic place to go and take a look at where you vote, what's on your ballot, who your elected officials are. That it has a wealth of information when it comes to voting on that website. There are ballots or sample ballots at each polling location. You can take a look at those prior to going into the voting booth, and you can also look on the county's website. We have our results page up and running already. You can kind of take a look and see all the candidates listed there as well.
I have a couple of common questions that people have, listeners and different people have asked, and they purposely didn't put their names on some of these, and I think it's a little bit out of embarrassment, and I don't want there to be, because there shouldn't be any embarrassment with this topic. I don't care how silly the question might seem. The theme, what we're talking about, is too important. Throw your silliness aside and just ask the question. Do I have to vote every race on the ballot? So as it got 10 categories, let's say, do you have to fill out all of them?
You do not. You don't have to fill out any of them. If you get in there and thought, oh, I'm not voting for any of these yahoos, and you thought, okay, I'm not just going to, I'll slink out of here, I'll just stick my ballot in there. The ballot will come back and say, are you sure you want to submit a blank ballot? You can certainly submit a blank ballot if you wanted to. And we have seen that. We have seen that sometimes where it's like, oh, I don't know any of these people. Now I'm here, and oh, geez. So we'll slide it through. And certainly that's an option. That's an option.
What happens if, for some reason, unintentionally or by accident or what have you, you get an extra ballot in the mail? What do you do with the extra ballot?
Tear it up. I would call the clerk, tell them, hey, I got 2 ballots here. Tear it up. Don't vote it. There's only going to be one ballot, one vote, one person. And that's one of the things that the poll workers do check for. When we get those absentee envelopes back in, we'll slice them open. We'll look at them, make sure that there is only one ballot. If there's 2 ballots and they're both filled out, neither one of them are going to count, because we can't tell what voter intent was, and that's just not where we're going to go. So there's methodology behind that as well that we check into.
Did want to mention, you mentioned MyVote, myvote.gov, incredibly good website. Also, vote411.org is another good website with a lot of great information there, too, if you're interested. And you can also register to vote through that website. It's another way to do it, too.
Well, really the only way that Wisconsin allows online registration is through the MyVote. That's the myvote.wi.gov. But there's a lot of websites out there that have registration forms out there that you can certainly fill in and send in to your municipal clerks. That works great. And if there's anything missing, a lot of people are getting these mailings now from various different parties and groups and saying, here, request your absentee ballot. Just sign this card and send it to your clerk. Or just sign this card and you're registered to vote. Well, not quite. There's more to it than that. So when clerks get those mailings, those little postcards that say, hey, all I do is sign and I'm registered, well, if we're missing things, the clerk will be in contact with you. We're going to try to get you registered appropriately and by law to make sure you have all the information that we need by statute in order to process that.
Now, this is a question that I have asked a lot of our, really all of our, or I shouldn't say all, but I'm going to be asking all of our representatives and that we locally have on the air here and everything. I think it's an interesting topic, and I really am interested in your perspective of it, given where you're coming from, because you're not coming from any political party or anything. Do you know what ranked choice voting is, and how do you feel about it if you do?
I've heard about it. I struggle to see how that works in Wisconsin. I don't know how that works. So many laws would have to be changed to allow for it. I just don't know how that looks at the end. Again, that's a policymaker decision. They want to do it, and we'll they're going to set the rules, and we will get it done. No question. I just struggle to see how that works in Wisconsin.
Yeah, because they pulled it off in New York, and it was a success there. So of course, parity and other counties, other cities or states are looking at doing this, and it's getting a lot of traction and building in momentum. momentum. And I don't know, that doesn't mean that, next year we're going to be doing it or anything. It could never happen, or it could happen 20 years from now. But I do think it's worth talking about.
I think there's been some bills out in Wisconsin that have started at least that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start the conversation and work through the bugs. Do I think it's going to happen next year? No. Do I think it'll ever happen? Maybe. I would say that's a good maybe at this point. It's interesting to talk about, and that's a good discussion for policymakers.
Yeah, and I do think that it's very interesting from their perspective because they kind of did it to themselves. They've made this divide and conquer kind of thing, and ranked choice voting kind of kicks that out the door.
Right.
For those who don't know, the term ranked voting refers to any voting system in which voters rank their candidates in a sequence of first or second, etc., on the respective ballots. And then that kind of is a bit of a, goes down the line there as that gets worked out. The logistics behind pulling something like this off cannot be taken lightly. It is not easy to do. No. And as Trent was just grazing the subject, even it was difficult.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what the logistics of what it would take to pull this off. So I don't think this is happening anytime soon.
No, but it's a good discussion to have.
It is interesting.
And I think the state of Wisconsin, the legislators have had preliminary conversations. I've seen some bills out there that we're looking for co-sponsorships. I don't think anything has gotten a hearing yet, but behind the scenes, I think it's being talked about. Yeah. Absolutely.
Trent, before we let you go, is there anything we didn't get a chance to touch on that you would like to?
No, just anybody that would like to get out and vote on August 9th. Polls will be open from 7 in the morning till 8 at night, and then take a look at the Wood County website for those results, and we'll have them out there just as fast as we get them.
And again, you can go to wirapids.org to get this information, but I'll just repeat it one more time for our Rapids listeners. To locate your ward number, enter your address in search bar on the map below the website, again at wirapids.org. Wards 1 through 10 vote at the Centralia Center at 223rd Avenue South. Wards 11 through 27 vote at East Junior High School Fieldhouse at 311 Lincoln Street. Trent, if people have follow-up questions or want to know more about some of the things we talked about today, how can they reach you?
Absolutely. Through my office at 715-421-8460. Otherwise, you can take a search for Wood County, Wisconsin. Go on to our website, and you'll find all my information there. You can email me directly. I won't give you the long email address over the radio, but you'll be able to email me directly from that website.
We don't get a chance to talk very often, Trent. It was great to have you in. Thanks so much for making the time.
Bet. Thank you.
And looking forward to talking again real soon.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
And again, thank you to the staff and everybody across the whole country that keep democracy alive. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
And a big thank you to our friends at Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. Always good seeing you, man. Thanks for being here. We'll take a quick commercial break. Come back with our friends from the ODC on WFHR's Morning Magazine.